Hey, what's up guys? It's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing a Mythical Beast deck profile. Now, this deck is like something that I wanted to play around with ever since I saw Master Cerberus being released in Extreme Force. And I really liked the deck because it's almost like based around, it is based around alchemy. And so I wanted to build it, and then Master Cerberus went way up, and so I kind of held off on building it until the Megatons with the reprint of Master Cerberus. So this is actually a pure version of the deck, virtually pure. And we're going to get straight on into this. So this deck, before we get into it, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell down there so you can become a part of the notification squad, and let's get straight on this. So this deck is actually something really interesting. It's kind of the pendulum deck that doesn't pendulum, in a way. Like, all of the monsters in this deck have a pendulum scale of 4, so pretty much they're just there to be spell monsters. So it's kind of weird, but it's really, really interesting because they work around spell counters. So let's get straight onto this. So this card is basically the big boss monster of the deck. It helps you OTK your opponent, and it is a total OTK maker in this deck. If you have no cards in your other Pendulum Zone, you can destroy this card. They all have that effect, and then you can add an effect. And if you do, add a level 7 or lower Mythical Beast effect monster from your deck to your hand. The other effect that he has is each time a spell card is activated, you get to place 2 spell counters on this card after it resolves, and it cannot be destroyed by card effects while it has 4 or more spell counters on this card. And then once per turn, you can remove 4 spell counters from this card, target one monster your opponent controls, banish it face up, and if you do, this card gains attack equal to the banished monster. That's the big OTK effect. If your opponent has like Borreload or something on the field, or Boral Sword on the field, and you banish it, he goes up to 3,800 attack until the end phase of the opponent's turn. So he stays big for a while. Then we play 3 copies of Jackal King. I love the artwork of Jackal King because it's like a total balance of the pendulum scales, because you have blue on this side and red on this side. Probably the best card in the deck because he's the negation card. Jackal King, its effect is that if you have no cards in your Pendulum Zone, except this card, you can destroy this card, and if you do, special summon 1 Mythical Beast monster from your extra deck, except another copy of Jackal King. And then its effect is, usually you're going to summon out Master Cerberus with that. Like, your big combo is, if you get Master Cerberus in hand, you activate it, search Jackal King, activate Jackal King, pop himself, and then special summon Master Cerberus. Like, that's the big thing that you do in this deck. And then each time a spell card is activated, you get to place 2 counters on this card, and when that spell resolves, and then once per turn, when an opponent's monster activates an effect, you can remove 2 spell counters from this card, and then negate the activation if you destroy it of that monster, which is pretty cool. Then we play 3 copies of Mythical Beast Basilisk. Basilisk is the biggest normal summon we have in the deck. And then if you have if you destroy this card in your Pendulum Zone, you can shuffle 1 Spellcaster Pendulum Monster from your extra deck into your main deck, which is pretty good. And then each time a spell card is activated, place a 1 spell counter on this card. And then you can remove 3 spell counters from this card, return a Mythical Beast monster, Pendulum monster, from your Pendulum Zone, or face up from your extra deck to your hand. So it lets you add them back to your hand, which is pretty cool, to get like additional spell counters and stuff like that. Which, I really like that. And the other thing that's really cool about this is it's like, you get to remove the spell counters from anywhere on the field. So we have other cards in this deck that like let you remove them off of them as well, like the Citadel, like the Magical Citadel of Edema. We have that can let us do that. Then we play 3 copies of Garuda. Garuda is pretty good. If you have no other cards in your Pendulum Zone, and you can target 1 spell trap your opponent controls, and basically you MST it and destroy this. But the really nice effect about this card is each time a spell card is activated, you can place a spell counter on this card. And then, when an opponent's normal summons or special summons a monster, you can remove 3 spell counters from your field, and then special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, return that opponent's monster to the hand. So if they summon out a big boss monster, you can just summon Garuda from your hand by removing 3 spell counters, and then bounce that monster to their hand. I love Garuda's effect for that. Then we play the one that's like not that great, but it's still kind of there. And that's 2 copies of Medusa. Medusa is okay. Like, it's not the best, but we have it there because it's a mythical beast, and it does assist the deck in certain aspects. So Medusa's effect is that If you control no other cards in your Pendulum Zone, you can target one face-up monster in your grave and place a spell counter on it. Or target one monster in your grave that you can place a spell counter on it. Destroy this card, and if you do, special summon that card. Which is kind of great, but at the same time, you only have 3 monsters in the deck that even let them go to the grave. Like, all of your Mythical Beasts go to the extra deck, so that's not really that great of an effect. And then each time a spell or trap card is activated, you get to place spell card is activated, you get to put a counter on this. And then once per turn during your battle phase, a quick effect, you remove 2 spell counters from this card, and if you do, half the attack of a monster on the field until the end phase of this turn. That's good and it's bad all at once. Like, it can help you OTK, but at the same time, it's bad because like it only halves the attack, and it costs 2 spell counters to do it. So it's okay. It's not the best one. Then we play, in my opinion, probably one of the best ones, and that's 3 copies of Mythical Beast Jackal. If you have no cards in your spell or in your Pendulum Zone, you can target a face-up monster you control, and you can place a spell counter on it, then destroy this card. It's okay for that effect, but the big effect is like the one when it's on the field. Each time a spell card is activated, you get to place a spell counter on this card, and then when it resolves, you can remove 3 spell counters from your field to tribute this card, special summon a Mythical Beast effect monster from your deck. So it lets you special summon any of your Mythical Beast monsters from your deck by removing 3 spell counters and then tributing this card. That's pretty good. And then we play 3 copies of Magical Exemplar. Each time a spell is activated, you get to place 2 spell counters on this card, and then once per turn, you can remove any number of spell counters from this card to special summon 1 spellcaster type monster from your hand or grave, whose level is equal to the number of spell counters you removed. Since this deck doesn't pendulum summon that much, you can activate a bunch of pendulum effects or pop effects or spell effects or something like that. Get a bunch of counters on her and then remove them, and then special summon like Jackal King for, I think it's 7, or Mythical Beast Master Cerberus. That's only 4 spell cards you have to activate to get her effect off live, and 2 to get a level 4. So it's really easy to get a overlay or a link easily in this deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells really quick, and I will show you what we're playing. We're not playing any traps in this deck because it's all about the spell cards right now. So we're playing 1 copy of 1 for 1 because Jackal is a really big part of this deck. 2 copies of Terraforming to search our Citadel. 2 copies of Power of the Guardians. If an attack is declared involving the equipped monster, you place a spell counter on that monster, and then the equipped monster gains 500 attack and defense for each spell counter on the card. If the equipped monster is going to be destroyed by a battle of our card effect, you can remove 1 spell counter from this card instead. I really like this card in the deck because it gives you spell counters and it rewards you just for attacking. I play 3 of it, excuse me. But it's really, really good because it can boost up your Mythical Beast Master Cerberus really, really, really big. And it can protect him as well. And it's just a good card. So then we play 2 copies of Pendulum Paradox. Since they continuously pop themselves, you can add 2 Pendulum monsters from your extra deck with different names from each other, but they have to have the same Pendulum scale, and all of these have the same Pendulum scale at 4, so that's why we play it at 2. I almost consider bumping it up to 3, but I play 3 copies of Duelist Alliance with it. So Duelist Alliance lets us add a Pendulum monster or a Pendulum spell and trap from our deck to our hand, or from our deck to our hand, excuse me. So that's why we play only 2 copies of Pendulum Paradox, because Duelist Alliance searches it. And we play this is because you activate this, and then you get a counter, or you get counters, and then you activate this, and you get more counters, and if you can get your field set up, you can just get an infinite number of counters, and it doesn't even matter. Then I play 3 copies of Mystical Bestiary. This card is, you send 2 cards from the top of your deck to the grave, and then you get to target a card on your field. If you do, place a spell counter on it. Place 2 spell counters on it. And then if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon 1 Mythical Beast monster from your deck that you can place a spell counter on it. And you do get to put 2 spell counters on it, which is pretty cool. But it kind of combos off with Medusa, because if you send something to the grave that was like, you send the top 2 cards of your deck to your grave and it was actually like a Pendulum Mythical Beast monster, you can get multiple... you can get a revive off of it, which is pretty cool. Then we play 3 copies of Mystical Institution. Mythical Institution is interesting because like each time I face up Mythical Beast, Pendulum Monster, you control is destroyed by a card effect. You can place 2 spell counters on this card, and then once per turn, you can remove any number of spell counters from the field, and then add 1 monster from your deck to your hand, or face up extra deck with level equal to the number of counters you removed from the field. And then if this card on the field would be destroyed by a card effect, you can remove 1 spell counter from it instead. I really love this card because it's like the searcher of the deck. It's kind of like, in a way, like Black Whirlwind, but you have to use counters to get it to go live. Then we play 3 copies of the Magical Citadel of Enema. Basically, what this does is it's just kind of like our spell counter holder. That's all it does. You activate it, and then like you can put a spell counter every time you activate a spell card. Its other effect isn't really that great once per turn. If this card would be removed, you can remove spell counters from this card instead of removing them from other places. And then if this card would be destroyed, you can remove 1 spell counter instead. That's basically all it does. But that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. We don't actually summon from the extra deck all that much. We usually are just summoning out Master Cerberus and going for game that way. But you can do the extra deck thing. We play 1 copy of Heavy Metal Foes Electromite because it's Pendulum deck. Boral Sword and Boral Load because it's Boral Sword and Boral Load. They're the biggest, best Link monsters in the game, in my opinion. Summon Sorceress because we can special summon other mythical beasts out. Decode Talker because it's Decode Talker. Nightmare Unicorn because we might need to bounce something. Phoenix and Cerberus for the same reason. Might need to bounce something, or I might need to pop something on the field. Since this deck is all dark, or all light, excuse me, we play 2 copies of Hippo Shinnigan. The 2 Hippo Shinnigans kind of help out a lot. I actually threw in Wee Witch's Apprentice, and I was like, oh, they're dark, because they're mythical beasts, but they're not. They're actually light, so we play Hippo Shinnigan instead. And it gets them pretty big as well. Like, it can help your Master Cerberus get really, really big really quick. And it's like the main one that I go into is Hippo Shinnigan over anything else. But Underclock Taker because it can make your opponent's monsters lose attack and defense. Link Rebo because of Jackal. And then I play Baguska just in case I need it with Garuda, Basilisk, and those. And then I play Utopia the Lightning as well, just because they don't get that big. And plus, if you get Utopia the Lightning on field, along with like Master Cerberus pumped up, it can really end the game really fast. But that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you really enjoyed that one. I really enjoyed taking that one. I've been holding out on that one for a little while. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit that bell down there so you can become a part of the notification squad, guys. Tell me what you think of this deck profile. I really enjoyed taking this one. This one's actually a lot of fun. It's something that I highly recommend. If you're going to play this deck, you need a box of dice. You seriously need a box of D20s to play this deck, because you're going to get so many counters rolling that your opponent's going to be like, what are you doing? So, like, I highly recommend when you do play this deck, seriously get a box of like 10 D20 dice so you can play this deck. It's like they need to strap that on with Extreme Force when you buy that, or when you buy any Mythical Beast card. It should have like a D20 on the back of it so you can keep up with the amount of counters you have. Because it gets a little daunting. But anyways, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. See you around, guys.